Good day everyone and welcome back to the channel. My name is Mariette, also known as the Boervrou, and in this little video I'm going to show you how I make this chevron blanket. I have had so many requests for a tutorial on how to make this blanket that I have decided to make a tutorial for it even though this is not finished yet. I will however make another video on how I add the border to this when I'm doing that. So I'm actually here to tell you a little secret, which is this chevron blanket looks very complicated, but it is super easy to do. After you've did your chain stitches and your first round, you just keep repeating round 2. So it's actually super easy to do. So this is what my blanket looks like so far. So I am making a scrappy version of this crochet chevron blanket, and this pattern is a 14 stitch repeat. So my blanket is measures 116 centimeters from side to side, and I did 14 repeats for this blanket. I also share a tip on how to get your cast on looser than mine is here. As you can see, it's not very loose, but I do share a tip on what I figured out to fix this problem for the future. So that is all that I have to say about this little blanket. So let's get into the tutorial. For the purpose of the tutorial, I will not be doing all of the stitches of this blanket. I will just make a small sample to show you how to make the peaks and the valleys, because that is basically all that it is. So let's get started. Right, so I'm using double knit yarn for this project, and just a few things that can make life easier. If you count your chain and you want to add a stitch marker to each 10 stitches, then you can easily count your chain by 10 to know that you have made your chain big enough, long enough. And I'm going to use a 4mm hook for this project, but I found that the first chains that you make for this project has the tendency to pull your blanket in. So I found that using a hook of 2mm bigger than what we are going to use for your first chain stitches helps that a lot. So I'll be using a 6mm hook for my chain stitches to start with. The pattern is a 14 stitch pattern repeat plus 3. So for this tutorial I'm going to make 2 pattern repeats, which will then be 28 plus 3, which gives you 31 chain stitches. So we're going to start off by making a slip knot. And I'm going to make my 28 chain stitches. So if you now have to make a chain of say 100 stitches or 150 stitches, then you'd stop after each 10 and add a little light bulb stitch marker to know that is 10. And then you will know you now have 20. So that is my 28. And then for my last three chains, I use the size hook that I'm going to use for my project, because this is basically our turning chain. Right, so for this project from now on we are only going to make double crochets and double crochet 2 stitches together to make our valleys and peaks. So for this pattern we are going to make 1 double crochet in the 4th chain from the hook. I like to use my back bars for this, working into my chain. So that is the first double crochet for this pattern. Then we are going to make 1 double crochet in each of the next 4 chain stitches. Then we are going to make double crochet 2 together twice. So to make a double crochet 2 together, yarn over, put your hook into the stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop so that you have 3 loops on your hook, yarn over, pull through 2 loops, yarn over, put your hook through the stitch, yarn over, pull through so that you have 4 loops on your hook, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 3, and that is a double crochet 2 stitches together. So we are going to do that twice, so we are going to do it another time. Right, so that is your first valley created. Then we are going to do 1 double crochet in each of the next 4 stitches. Then we are going to form our first peak by doing 2 double crochets in the next chain space twice. One, 2, and in the next one, 1 and 2. So that is our first peak, and then we are just going to repeat this until we have only 1 stitch left. So what we are doing basically is making 4 double crochets in between our valleys and our peaks. And we are also again doing 1 double crochet in each of the last 4 stitches here, and then we should have 1 stitch remaining. And in this last stitch here we are going to make 2 double crochets into it. to end our row. So here you can now see where we started, and we made a valley and a peak and a valley and back up to a peak. I like to make 2 rows per color. So what we will do now is row 2, where we make 3 chains for a turning chain, and turn your work anti-clockwise to prevent your chain from twisting. We are going to make 1 double crochet into the next stitch here at the base. Then we are going to make 1 double crochet into the next 4 stitches. So that's your turn stitches, and that's your 4 double crochets. And then we are just repeating the same pattern over and over. We're going to do 2 double crochet stitches together twice. We're going to do double crochet 2 together once, double crochet 2 together twice, and then we do 4 double crochets, one in each of the 4 stitches. Then we are doing 2 double crochets in the next stitch twice. Four double crochets, and then to end the round we will do 2 double crochets in the 3rd chain of our turning chain. Right, so after you made the first color stripe, let's say for instance you would like to do 3 stripes per color. You make the amount of stripes that you would like per color of your finished blanket, size, and then you take this first strip and you weigh it, and note that weight amount. My blanket weighs, each 2 color stripe weighs about 13 to 14 grams. So when I select yarns to make it, I make sure that I've got 14 to 15 grams in the ball of yarn before I start, to ensure that I have enough yarn to make 2 stripes in this color. So that is a nice tip for making a scrappy blanket. Right, let's continue, and let me show you how to change color for your next color stripe. Alright, so to change color, you would stop when you have 2 loops on your hook from your last stitch, and yarn over with your new color and pull it through, and do your first 3 chain stitches. Now remove your hook, cut your old yarn about 5 centimeters or more of a tail so that you could weave that in. Take your hook, put it through the stitch that you last made, those 2 loops, and pull this yarn through those 2 loops, like that to secure it. And then you just continue with your stitch, with the stitches as you would normally. You can crochet over them if you like that. You can even, if you like, crochet with your new tail to secure it even more. So what you would do is, when you yarn over to pull it through those 2 loops, you would yarn over with both, just this once, and then leave the tail, yarn over and pull it through. It makes a little bit of a thicker stitch, so I would not advise to do it for all of the stitches, but for 1 or 2 it just helps to secure this tail a little bit better. And then, as I said, you just continue with row 2 for all of the rows of your blanket. So this is how I make my chevron blanket. I will be making a tutorial on how to add a border around the chevron blanket, and that will be coming to the channel very soon. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel if you'd like to see any more of my content. And I will see you in the next one. Until next time, happy crafting.